Hey guys, hope you're having a great day. Your old buddy Tim back with Revolved Realty. Very special guest today. I've got with me an old buddy, not that old.
No, I'm not
We've
that
only
old.
known each other 20 years maybe.
Sounds right.
Went off and got himself elected mayor of Madison years ago.
Caught the dog and or caught the car and the dog. Now what you gonna do?
I always tell this story. Paul Finley, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, mayor of Madison. Paul and I are old entrepreneur buddies, and Paul actually was doing some marketing for me, and I always tell the story that Paul came in one day and said, I think I'm going to run for mayor of Madison. And my response was, what the hell are you thinking?
That's exactly
So, welcome. We appreciate you being here.
Glad to be here.
Give a little background on you. Is this your second or third term?
This is my third term.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was 2008 when we decided to run. You know, I think part of it was just having learned kind of how Madison works and some of the things that were working well, but some of the areas that weren't, or at least I didn't feel
Madison needed a good leader.
Yeah.
And they got one.
And just decided it fit well with what I felt like I could do, got in, and I think ever since that time we've been working a plan. We've defined where we're headed. And then the job is to go get it done.
Yeah.
And we've got a good team in place. It continues to get stronger each time you lose somebody through retirement or they find another job. I think we've done a good job of finding the newest people we can. And didn't run again in 2012. Thought we had it on the right track.
He thought he had fixed everything in one term.
But I wanted to make sure I was in position for my boys. And all three of them, one of them was going from Auburn to grad school. One of them wanted to play basketball. Youngest one needed some, just some guidance. And so never will look back and think that was a bad decision.
Yeah.
But once they all kind of got where they needed to be, and I realized I wanted to be back in to continue to do some things, got back in it, and been in it ever since.
Yeah, and doing a great job. And I don't say that because we're pals. I say that because
Or
I was
because we're on
born
TV.
I was born and raised there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I saw mayors come and go.
Yeah.
And some of them were good, some of them not so good. We won't mention any names.
Yeah.
So, but when you got in there, I think you were probably the first, I don't want to say progressive mayor, but you were the first mayor that looked ahead and saw what this little bitty town could be.
Right.
Talk about that when you first got in.
Well, I think one of the things I talk about, and it comes from my dad. My dad said, "Tell the truth. You never have to remember what you said." And Madison at that point was being managed by people who were still frustrated that Huntsville had tried to annex us.
Right.
So we couldn't even call ourselves a suburb, but we were.
Yeah.
And we weren't working well together. And while our schools were really strong and there was a lot of jobs in this area, we didn't have a game plan for our schools. But most importantly, Huntsville had secured all the land that had sales tax.
They came in and kind of closed us in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what drives a city is sales tax.
Right.
And so recognizing that, it was time to get in and make a difference in each one of those respective areas. And so it was okay to work with Huntsville.
Yeah.
It was okay to call ourselves a suburb. We had to focus on making sure we found funding for the second high school. And then lastly, you had to go secure some sales tax dollars. And so it was easy to know what we needed to do. It was hard to go make it happen. And that's just where you work with people and then get good things to occur. And we've been working hard on that ever since.
I think you were the first Madison mayor that actually wanted to work with Huntsville. Because you and Tommy Battle, mayor of Huntsville, really from the get-go, you guys said, okay, let's make this work to the benefit of both.
We literally buried a hatchet.
Yeah.
I mean, we really did. And then again,
It was a big hatchet.
It was a big hatchet. I still have it in my office. You
Yeah,
can
he
see it.
does, yeah.
But I think in that case, when we did that and you took away everything that you didn't, if we agree on something, that's great. There's only one thing that we really needed to fight over, and that was sales tax.
Yeah.
Everything else we needed to be working together. So we secured a couple of big road projects. And it's all been about creating jobs. And that's why this area right now is what it is people want to continue to move here to follow the jobs. Then what's happening is parents are moving to follow their kids. They're really not. They're following their grandkids.
Yeah.
And people, and so people continue to come because it's a great place to live. And so if you're working on that quality of life together, now there's enough sales tax for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's been really good for all of us.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that annexation, because I remember when it happened, Huntsville basically came in and really, as I said, kind of surrounded the city.
Right.
They annexed to the north. I think there was some annexation to the west, and landlocked Madison.
Yeah.
And landlocked. How did you deal with that initially, and how are we reclaiming some of that land?
Well, the first thing is you recognize you can't change the past. You can only control the present and the future. And so I think we recognized, okay, if they've surrounded us, and during my first term, they literally locked us in.
Yeah.
Nowhere else to go. Then we said, okay, well, this is where we can. This is as far out as we can go. But let's take care of what we can control. And that was a lot of times the insides of Madison.
Right.
And then let's use the land that's available up on 72 that's already in Madison and go find the Target Center and the shops of Madison. So we focused on what we could control instead of worried about what was already gone.
Yeah.
And we've done that ever since. We also, because we've continued to grow so dramatically, we wanted to make sure we did it in a smart way. You know, we found the funding for the second high school fairly quickly. We built James Clemens. But we've continued to focus on our strongest asset, which is our schools, and also our location to the jobs and to the airport and so forth. So I think a lot of how we dealt with what they had already done is just realize, done. Now let's go take care of what we can. And then we defined 6 different areas that we felt were most critical. Where Town Madison is now was an area, County Line Road, the rest of 72 where we had some Old Madison Pike, but the biggest one was Midtown, the area from Madison Boulevard up to where the Kroger Center is up there in Publix, and then Hughes over to Waltrana.
Yeah.
That's our that's the best places to put businesses, and let's go create some.
Yeah,
some
and I want to
there.
talk about that development there because when word got out that Madison was thinking about building a baseball stadium, there were a lot of folks, including me to some degree, going, What's Paul got to there? What's the but you had a plan all along for that.
Well, in between first term and second term was 4 years. And during that 4 years, that 500 acres of property of Town Madison, they cut a deal with the developer to start the process.
Okay.
So when I came back in 2016, it was already in place. And basically, he would pay the infrastructure up front. He got paid back for anything new that came out of the ground from a property and sales tax. And we were giving him 10% interest on that. So we better be successful because he's already spending $22 million. When we had the opportunity, when a baseball team came to us and said, hey, we're going to buy the Mobile franchise and we're going to put it someplace, it gave us the ability to possibly put an anchor in the midst of Town Madison, which in turn would help drive all that development.
So Town Madison was already planned, and then the ball field came
Exactly.
in. Okay.
Yeah. So and you know, part of what also happened during that time is things changed. All of a sudden, this really cool new thing called the internet, people started being able to buy a lot of their stuff there. So a lot of these retail stores that used to be go build a shopping center and they'll come wasn't the same. So the baseball stadium tied together with what I'd also heard in Madison. We don't have a place over 100 where you can put 100 people to have a meal. So making it a multi-use venue and tying it together with a team that could come in and bring baseball was a good win for us. And so we put all of it together, and it's worked since that time. We fund it through what the baseball team will do over the 5 channels they have, and then lodging tax. And the reason we put lodging tax in there is with all the stuff that's happening with AMC, FBI, ATF, that's all training. They all come in each week. So we knew lodging was going to continue to be something that would be used for years and years. So the baseball stadium was just another, something that was handed almost to us, and then we found a way to make it happen. And that in turn has now driven all those restaurants and livability, and it's given us the ability now to build the full interchange, which we'll have in 2 years.
Very good. Let's talk a little bit about the housing market, because Madison is one of the most popular suburbs, if you want to call it that. Quality of life, but the schools are the big draw.
Right.
I do a ton of relocation business, get a lot of inquiries off the YouTube channel wanting to know about the school systems here. Madison, since day one, has gotten high marks.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about where's the school system now, the growth that's coming into Madison. Is there plans for more another high school? What's the master plan for schools?
So great question. So the first time in office, we don't have funding for the schools.
Right.
We in turn secured a $36 million interest-free loan, and anybody you can explain to them how much money that saves. But that in turn allowed us to build James Clemens. To do that, we had to raise sales tax 0.5 cent.
Okay.
So we did that, and that was in 2010. Then I come back in 2016, and again, we've grown, and everybody's saying basically fix the Limestone County tax issue. That's not what they were really meaning. They meant basically do not let us get it in a position where those schools go down in value and we overcrowd them. So we put a committee in place that looked at what's it going to look like 10 to 15 years from now. Okay. And they came back and said you have 3 choices. You can just continue, stop, no more development, open the tap wide up, or find something in the middle that you can control. That's what we chose to do. Okay. So we put a growth plan and a policy in place so we could say no to some of the things that made no sense and yes to the things that we desperately needed. The other part of that is it helped us understand that if we use that philosophy, we're going to need another elementary school, middle school, and the 2 high schools. And then we added in a mill for safety because school safety, it's always been critical.
Right.
So we went back to the public and said, hey, if you'll invest in yourself in property taxes, if you'll add your property tax 12 mills, which on a $400,000 house was about $400, we're going to build those schools, use that money to build those schools. They voted in with a 73% we agree rate, and that's what we've done.
Yeah.
So I think we've done a good job of understanding what the school system needs to stay a top 2 school system in the state, top 50 in the nation, and let that sink in for a minute. I mean, this is a smart community.
Yeah.
And so most folks who care about education are going to figure out a way to get their kids in the best schools. That's what we continue to do. So then we've used that growth policy to limit annexation. So we've only had 1 or 2 major annexations since 2016, one of which gave us 18 acres for the last elementary school we'll need.
Okay.
So I guess if I let everybody know, we are going to keep schools strong.
Okay.
They're going to continue to have the money that they need. We don't really need any more of your tax money. We think we've got a good game plan for that. And then the city needs to make sure that we keep the infrastructure supported to make that stuff happen.
Let's talk about the infrastructure because it's one of the things when you have a high growth area, everybody's got 4 cars they're bringing with them. They're all on the road. Talk a little bit about the struggles, really, of the growth of Madison over the last few years, the challenges to the infrastructure, and what's perhaps planned to alleviate that.
Sure, but I think infrastructure to me is roads, but it's also ball fields.
Right.
But most importantly, it's public safety.
Okay.
So again, when I came into office in 2016, we were right around 300 people. We're now almost 400 people because of the size that the city has to make sure we take care of enough police officers.
400 people.
400
in
people.
safety?
Just overall
Okay.
in the city of Madison. So we employ about 400 folks
Okay.
for the city of Madison. It was 300 when I came in 2016. All of that typically has gone to add more police officers, more firemen, and keep up with that. So infrastructure is all of those things. Road-wise, we're never going to catch up.
Yeah.
We're always going to be
hard
behind
to
the
do.
8 ball.
Yeah.
So on the bigger projects, we work with Huntsville and Madison County to secure those types of projects. Internally, we look at 2 things, adding lanes or improving intersections for better throughput. The perfect example is Gillespie and Balch.
The
The roundabout.
I go down there and just drive around and around just to confuse people.
It's like a rally lap.
Is he going to turn? What's he doing? Yeah.
And so right now, because of the success of that, I can tell you on our capital improvement plan, we have at least 3 more that we're looking to fund. They're going to be engineered, and then we'll fund them. So infrastructure is adding lanes or adding throughput. The one thing I can't change is how Madison does things.
Right.
We put all of our schools on the main roads. Then what happens is it gums the entire city up in the mornings, in the afternoons. But quite honestly, a lot of that happens because people make a choice.
Yeah.
You could put your kid on a bus. You could go earlier. They don't.
Right.
I want to take my baby to school. I did the same thing.
I did the same
yes,
thing.
Yes, you did.
Yep, yep.
And it's some of the best time you have with your kids.
That's true,
I want
yeah.
them prepared for a great day. So we're not going to change that either. So what we're doing is, again, just making sure that when they get to school, they're safe with SROs and that type of thing. And that anywhere we can make a difference in better throughput, we are doing. So we're adding lanes, we're adding intersection improvements, but I'm never going to change a lot of times what happens with parents. And then again, ball fields. We've secured about 100 acres of open space in the last 6 months in the west, off of Mill Road by the Greenway, in Town Madison where Hexagon is, all those, and we're able to then add fields because we used to just be only recreational for kids. Well, now you got us, and so we
got you playing sports. You don't have me.
Well, but adult folks who and so that's one of the things we're doing is adding adult recreation. We just added a 30,000 square foot community center that we funded for $11 million. It's no longer just 85-year-old folks who go eat, play bingo, and go home, and God help you if you speak in between there. It's like, go away, I want to do this. So I think in this case, we've matured as a city. We've planted our roots. It's second and third generation. You're a perfect example. You got kids that are living in your own neighborhood, for goodness sake. You're blessed. I do too.
Yep.
So we continue to have layers of maturity, which in turn we're keeping up. So infrastructure is all of those things, and we're making sure in all facets that we're keeping up with it.
Madison is pretty much locked in north and east.
Correct.
Let's talk about growth to the west between Madison and Athens, and then to the south, down toward Triana and those areas. What's happening there?
Well, let's go to south. Basically, town Madison is the last bastion of everything to the south.
Okay.
So all the livability, whether it's apartments or houses that are in there, are about as far as, because you get to the railroad tracks across Wall Triana there, excuse me, or Wall Triana and Zert, you get to the railroad tracks, that's the end of Madison, then it goes to Huntsville. Triana is going to continue to grow, but that's just nothing that we can control. To the west, we have the Western Territory, which we manage via our growth plan. Does it make sense to bring it in? If it's already zoned that way, then we work to minimize how many units are in each one of those areas, and then put it on a staggered 7 to 10 year plan, which in turn helps us keep up with that growth. So I think along those same lines, Tim, one of the things that we've done, we looked at adding impact fees. You know, the impact that each residence brings to us is pretty substantial. But we chose recently not to do that. So we won't have impact fees in the city of Madison. And I think that's important for folks to know. Because if we put them in place, that was only going to add to the cost, because the builder's not going to say, well, you know what, I'll pay for it. No, they're going to pass it along. So we took those out. So in the Western Territory, we're still going to grow, and we're going to grow in a way that is smart. And we say no every day. You know, people think, well, you just do it. You know, no. If it doesn't make sense for Madison, because now the change has been they're coming regardless. And so where it used to be in Limestone County, they had to build in Madison or else they weren't really going to be able to sell their house. They can sell their house anywhere now. So we got to be smart, because we still, if the houses are there, they still use our roads, but we don't get the property tax for it. So we're finding the balance that we need to there, and working where we say yes where it makes sense and no where it makes sense.
I'm seeing a lot of what I call pocket building, because there's not a whole lot of available land in the city. But for example, Stone Martin has I think it's a one street development there on the end of Eastview. And so I'm seeing a lot of builders finding these little pockets where they were usually going in building subdivisions with 80 to 100 homes. They're finding any available property they can find in the city and putting up a handful of homes.
The Eastview extension between Hughes and Wall Triana, you know, they found a way to put 20 houses right there, right behind Bob Jones. So you're right.
That's where it is. Right there.
They're doing that, and that's okay, because I think, you know, that's part. And what we do then is we make sure we try to, you know, make it's safe. We do all the inspections up front. We want to help builders be successful. And one of the things I recognized coming into office, at one point, you know, people were kind of a pain in the tail coming into City Hall.
They can be that way.
Well, that's not. That's how they looked at it.
Remember when I asked you what the hell were you thinking when you wanted to be mayor?
I think what I've done is helped folks understand it's okay. Not only okay, you are empowered to use your subject matter expertise to help people. And I think in that case, you know, you want to put in a pool, you want to put in a fence, you want to do so, you want to build a business. You were a perfect example when you did your gun store. I think you guys put in a wall.
Which we took out.
Because you didn't meet code. You didn't get it permit. You didn't ask. So we want to get it on the front end. So when we hear that somebody's going to build something, give us all the information you can. Let us help you be successful. Do it the first time. And I think people appreciate that. And there used to be, when I first came in, what we can attack a Madison tax. Hey, if you're going to build, just add 20%, because God, it's going to take forever, and they're going to. The good news for us is that's gone away. And I think in this case, hopefully, people feel like we want them to be here, we want them to be successful, and we're going to try to help them every way we can.
Talk a little bit about the business side, because you're an old business guy. I'm an old business guy. Businesses moving into the city of Madison. How business friendly is Madison now, and where do you see that growth? We got a lot of retail coming, restaurants. What's on the horizon?
We just did a PowerPoint at our last work session about a week and a half ago, and our Mary Beth Browen, who's our Director of Development Services, did it. And she showed all the development throughout the city and was everywhere. You know, a perfect example. When Publix moved out of the shopping center up on 72, it left that's the anchor. That left that. We in turn have now filled it with floor and decor. That in turn has brought a furniture store. And then you're going to see that whole area revitalize. Across from City Hall, you know, is the shopping center that now has Fleet Feet and
Heartless.
Just Love Coffee.
The old Heartless, crazy,
you think about what that was 3 or 4 years ago, and now it's a revenue generator with businesses of quality. South side on Madison Boulevard, you have Terra May Spa that now has moved back. Amazing.
Yeah.
And then they built a second building and it has a coffee shop, great home interior store. And then Town Madison obviously is adding a ton of restaurants.
Right.
And then probably what I'm most excited about that we're so close to making happen is our historic downtown area. We've added, done stuff into Martin Street to Garner Street. And you're starting to see businesses start to pop up there.
Right.
And then we have someone who bought the 2 warehouses that are right next to each other, and she has a great plan for bringing kind of a food court type area with beverages, and then the second side would be kind of a mini event center. So in every facet of Madison, County Line Road, we didn't even talk County Line, we're being successful in bringing businesses of quality that mean something, that brings us tax base. To give you an idea, a half-cent sales tax in 2010 when we did James Clemens was worth $2.5 million. It's worth about $5.2 million right now. So that's the difference that we have. When we did Town Madison, and we recently just agreed to take out an $80 million bond, that in turn we feel like will pay off within 10 to 12 years. When that pays off, that's about $10 to $12 million that we're able to pump back into the city. So you have to look 3 to 5 years down the road is about as far as you can look to manage a city, but we're making decisions that are going to help us 10 to 12 years down the road.
Yeah. To wrap up,
really
quickly, what are some of the challenges the city's facing right now, and what are some of the things perhaps on the horizon that are going to just continue to make things grow?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge that we have that's a great challenge is growth. I mean, we're just growing.
Managing growth.
Managing growth.
Yeah.
And because of that, we have to be able to, again, go back to roads, ball fields, public safety, and you have to be able to keep up with that. And so that's our biggest challenge, and I think we're doing a really good job of prioritization there. It's funny, the internet to me and the group of people there's about 15 people that have decided that they don't like Madison. And anything that we do is just absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
My challenge is we are doing really good things.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the only information that people get. But I can tell you right now, I'm really proud of our team, of our city, how we work together with this community. And so I don't want to let that group who, it's like a book club, let me just go figure out the next thing that I can say you're doing wrong. Yeah. To inhibit our ability to continue to focus on the other 59,000 people that really love our city. So I think those are the only major challenges that we have. And we hired another communications person. We now have 2. We're working hard to get information out to this community that is real information, not just manufactured. Let us figure out how you're not doing a good job. Don't get me wrong. I have 2 hours every 2 weeks set up in the mayor's office. It is to listen. Yeah. We listen to this community. One of the things and the reason we invested $11 million in the community center is we don't have enough meeting space. There's not enough adult programs. Those are the kind of things that we're making a difference on. And there's a really good team of people that care a lot about what they do for this community. Even if they don't live here, they're doing it for us.
Yeah. 12 years ago you went in first? Could you have imagined the growth and where we are 12 years later?
No, I don't think anybody could.
Because we were still a small town.
Oh, yeah. And then, that's the beauty, and go back and challenge, how do you keep it a small town?
Correct.
How do you keep that small town feel that everybody loves coming here? And, I had one of my favorite people in the world is BB Achin. And and Miss BB told me the other day, she said, this just isn't my town anymore. It's just not my town.
Yeah.
And I said, well, Miss BB, it is and it isn't. You're in a different stage of your life, as am I.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what I just did. You paid me to go read to the 3rd graders at Columbia Elementary School. And when I was reading to those kids in a school that my kids had gone through, what I recognized is how many parents have their kids in the best school system in the state of Alabama, in a safe community. The parents probably have 2 incredible jobs, living in a great house.
Yeah.
They go to a great church, they have ball fields. Wait a minute. They're living our lives.
Yeah.
We're just in a different stage of ours.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, to me, I appreciate the most is we are still a small town where you walk into, I walked into Goodland's Poorhouse on County Line on a Saturday night about a week and a half ago, and all of a sudden I felt a tap on my shoulder. It's my middle son. He and his wife are there with their friends eating and then going out to go to see some things. Yeah. You still have that ability to be small town feel, but we're no longer a small town.
We're not.
But that's because it's a great town and so many people are benefiting from that.
Yeah, great. Paul Finley, Mayor of Madison. If folks want to get in touch with you or learn more about the city, where do they go?
The biggest thing is go to madisonal.gov.
Okay.
It has a brand new website. They can sign up for notices. Notify me if something. We'll send you text messages or emails based on status changes of roads or fields. Sign up for bids. And then the other thing is just call the mayor's office. It's 772-5603. Book a 30-minute appointment. I want to talk to you. I want to hear from you. Most folks who come to see me want to do something good. They just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And we connect them with that.
Awesome. Paul, we appreciate your time,
Betcha.
buddy. Hey, guys, don't forget, if you are thinking about moving here to Madison, we get a lot of inquiries every week from folks on the YouTube channel looking for information. But if you'd like more information, just give me a call. My contact information is below. And if you are already here and you would like the assistance of the fastest growing little real estate company in town. We're at almost 100 agents, Paul.
It's just crazy talk.
I had dark hair.
Crazy talk.
When I got into this.
Doesn't surprise me,
We
though.
would be more than happy to help you out. So, Paul, appreciate you, buddy.
Betcha.
You guys have a great day. Bye.